Shadows in Seoul. The neon glow of Seoul cast an eerie light on the cramped apartment, its harsh reflection dancing across the sweat-slicked forehead of 16-year-old Jinwoo. His parents, usually boisterous and full of affectionate energy, sat rigid and frozen on the sofa, their eyes vacant voids sunk deep in hollow cheeks. The stale air seemed to crackle with an unnatural metallic energy, a tangible manifestation of the malevolent entities that had slowly taken hold of their souls. It had started subtly weeks before. Brief flickers of a strange facsimile smile, an unsettling predatory glint igniting their warm brown eyes for barely a heartbeat before dousing once more. Fragments of chanting and guttural tongue escaping their throats while tossing feverishly at midnight. But each new dawn found the changes advancing deeper like a cancer consuming kindness and familiarity until only an insatiable hunger filled their waking moments. The eerie sussurrations echoed through the cramped rooms soon after, emanating from no discernible source. Their sibilant utterances spoke of an ancient ravenous darkness now awakened and growing ascendant after long years of starving imprisonment. Of a blood-dead ode to the eternal void where malevolent gods lurked, now ripe for collection. The archaic words meant nothing yet filled Jinwoo with an inexplicable sense of existential dread which clawed tighter each day. As the days bled into weeks, the possessed figures became increasingly volatile and aggressive. They would loom over Jinwoo while he slept fitfully, their eyes swimming with vortexes of liquid darkness as they droned hypnotically about glorious power he could share by merely surrendering the tattered remains of his humanity to speed their master's feasting. They spoke of worlds beyond worlds where the constraints of frail morality were utterly unknown, where Jinwoo would realize his true glorious potential if he only embraced the surging chaos. But Jinwoo stubbornly resisted the insidious influence clawing to claim his soul. He silently recalled treasured memories of shared laughter over steaming noodle soup, the affection glowing in his father's eyes during their weekly chess matches, his mother's gentle voice humming favorite old songs while carding her nails softly through his hair as he lay with head in her lap watching movies until blinking grew leaden. He focused on the unquestioning love which had cradled him securely through childhood, refusing to relinquish hope it might sustain them all even as unfamiliar shadows claimed every corner. At school, Jinwoo desperately researched ancient tales of demonic possession, seeking explanations and pathways back into the light. He learned certain rituals invoking earthly and celestial guardians might cleanse a home or body of outside forces given strong enough intention. He memorized the passing vulnerabilities of evil spirits, their ancient loathing of pungent herbs and silvered glass. Secretly he began gathering ingredients for a homemade purification ritual, hopeful of reclaiming the lost souls of those who meant everything to him. That week's end, when his parents cornered him by the cramped balcony, their faces contorted into malevolent masks barely recognizable behind the predatory hunger warping their features, Jinwoo knew the time had come to take his stand whatever the cost. They alternately raged and purred seductive promises of the power he might harness if he consciously embraced the glorious darkness soon to eclipse the land. Inside him grief warred with resolve until a core of diamond determination emerged. He would free his family or die trying. Jinwoo carefully activated pungent warding incense, then withdrew the flask of goat's blood purchased at ruinous expense from the black-clad woman in the back alley shaman supply shop. With trembling hands he inscribed the familiar walls with sigils of protection and desperation taken from ancient records. Lastly, he held a silver pocket mirror before his possessed parents while chanting the haunting refrain taught by the shamans to reveal the true nature of those infected by outside forces. The reaction in their mirrored gaze was instantaneous. Features seemed to rupture, then dissolve into oily darkness before re-emerging as snarling feral shadows desperate to hold their beachhead in this world. But Jinwoo had seen enough. Forged by love and necessity, his incantation shifted seamlessly into the canticle of heavenly fire, reiterated with gathering potency. For untold hours he chanted until his throat rasped raw and lungs burned for want of air, chanting still as his parents writhed in their bedroom seemed in danger of shaking itself apart, chanting hoarsely as they collapsed amidst the rubble, chanting still until the first rays of dawn penetrated the warded bedroom, bringing with it the first hope of salvation. Jinwoo cradled his parents' filthy unconscious forms for long hours, somehow certain the gentle rise and fall of their chests indicated light slowly reclaiming what darkness had nearly swallowed whole. When at last they opened familiar eyes filled with confused yet cogent love, he wept unrestrained tears of relief. Together they rose on unsteady limbs like newborns clumsy in a changed reality they could not yet comprehend. But united by blood and sacrifice they clung tight, forging bonds anew destined to weather coming storms. Later over mugs of steaming ginseng tea laced with leftover incense they spoke haltingly of mutually half-recalled nightmares, then turned resolutely towards fresh dawn promise glimmering behind rice paper screens. Because though darkness might remain crouched in some nearby alley hungering eternally to reclaim their small family, Jinwoo knew himself now a tested guardian, and would face the shadows again when needed with seasoned spirit armed by devotion.